Standing by.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tokusatsu Now, the podcast designed to onboard newcomers and also satisfy the cravings of longtime fans of Tokusatsu. Tokusatsu is about to take the world by storm, or is it? Or is it actually dead? We will we will discuss all of these things in this episode. My name is Tom Caswell. I am joined by my co-host. First up, we have Eric Francisco. Eric, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, everyone. Thanks for having me once again. And I hope everyone listening to this is having also a great week. Well, whenever you listen to this, but Halloween weekend just ended for us at time of recording. So hope everyone had a wonderful and safe and great Halloween.
And we're also joined by Mike Williams. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing well. There's so many big major things to talk about.
So many things
in the world of Toku
to talk about. Yeah, it's an interesting time for the genre while it's seeing more popularity than ever. Maybe, like I said and hinted at, maybe there isn't nearly as maybe there's some problems in the world of Tokusatsu, but we are going to get into it. In fact, it's November 2nd at the time of recording. If you're living in the United States, this is actually and particularly in like the New York area, and I think other parts as well. One of the things that they're doing is this like Ultraman kind of like tour. Let me see if I can bring up the information here. So this might be a really good chance for people to actually go engage with some of this stuff in real life. This is tying into a new season. Is that correct, Mike?
The current season right now is Ultraman Omega. So yes, there is a season that is available on YouTube as we speak.
So there is Eric actually put me onto this. So Kuyuramen, it's a popular chain of Japanese ramen chains, is teaming up. This is from whatnow.com. Teaming up with Japan's iconic superhero Ultraman for a month-long celebration this November. Throughout November, 20 participating Kuyuramen locations across New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania. So I guess it is very much kind of based in our neck of the woods, but not everyone in the States is. A lot of other people living quite far from these locations. But yes, they have an Ultraman-inspired dish that I think we're going to try and go and eat. We'll try and get in on this sometime this month. But it's also Ultraman's 60th anniversary next year, and that's part of the tie-in. There's also some things happening here in Jersey at the American Dream Mall for Ultraman all month long. So if you are living in the tri-state plus area, there might be some actual in-world things to do with Toku that you can do around Ultraman, which is very exciting. So please go check that out. And yeah, we'll have more on that this month.
Go ahead. You can jump right on YouTube and go to the official, search for Ultraman Official or Ultraman Omega. And Surabaya runs Ultraman straight up. Like, it's not like the Kamen Rider one. Surabaya puts it on there. They put subs. They will have I think they have a dub as well in there. It's multi-language. I think Ultraman Omega is up to like episode 16. Ultra seasons are usually like 25 episodes. So we're about halfway through the season, but you can watch every episode of Omega.
Of television.
Yeah. So you can watch it right now if you want to. It's right there.
I will also add the American Dream Mall experience is bound to be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I will not be there. I had every plan and every intention of going before. Unfortunately, some plans changed regarding work, so I will not be there. But if you're in the tri-state area, or if you're happen to be visiting the area and you're free that afternoon, absolutely go check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Japan is so used to seeing like these live stage shows of these things. In America, that's kind of unheard of. Sometimes you might see like some kids cartoon or show doing a live thing, but in this case, you get to see some really cool costumes and rubber monsters. Probably have a battle right there in the middle of the mall. If you've ever like gone to New York Comic Con or something like that, you might have seen like the Ultraman costumes in person. They always have suit actors. It's incredible to see them in person. So I encourage everyone to go check it out. They are stunning to look at in person, and who knows, you might get a cool photo op. Maybe get to high five them. It's a really cool stuff. It's really cool stuff. They do. Subaraya is doing some really amazing overseas brand work, brand ambassadorship. So I think it's again, go check it out.
Yeah, we'll be I'll be in attendance as well in a couple of weeks for that. So if you cannot check it out, we will also have coverage of it here on Toku Now. So yeah, if you are unfortunately and most people, I guess, on the planet won't be able to go see it, you can come here and you can check it out through us serendipitously, shall we say. Okay, so there's some big news that we're going to dive into. I do want to just catch up quickly on Zeztz. We've had 3 episodes since the last time we chatted about it. Eric, unfortunately, has not caught up, but Mike, I do want to talk with you recently. We'll try and keep things as spoiler-free as possible. There's been some major revelations, specifically around the character Nem, who we kind of got a tease last time we were chatting through episode 5. We kind of got a tease that she is more intrinsically linked into all of this beyond just simply appearing in everyone's dreams, and it is very seemingly integral to Nox, whatever Nox is up to, the main villain of this season. And yeah, what I've really enjoyed these episodes. I think that the Nem episodes have been my favorite so far, even though this is a bit of a spoiler, that they're not necessarily Nem's episodes, right? She's not the dreamer in those, but the revelations around that, I think, maybe confirmed some things about like, oh, dreams don't work, and like we're still learning how all of this works. And I think it opens the door for a lot of potential and just kind of busts things wide open of like, they can really kind of pull the rug out from under you and the wool over your eyes, because dreams are inherently this anything can happen kind of, reality.
And the episodes really sort of center Nem as we're wondering what's going on with her. She is the linchpin. Without going too deep into spoilers, she's the
Yeah,
linchpin for everything that
seemingly, yeah.
is happening across the show. Now, there is also some hints. Knox is still doing his, I'm going to be a little cryptic and say things. He did pop up to actually interact directly with Baku, but there are also some hints that perhaps, as every Kamen Rider, Baku's powers perhaps have a negative. There's a negative side to them. We don't know what that is yet, but there's definitely something there, and it'll probably lead to Baku realizing it with his super form, which we have also seen, because Kamen
Yes.
Rider is a toyetic show. Part of the thing there is to sell toys, so we have already seen the toy catalog for what's coming next.
Yeah, so we do have images here. We have Zetz's plasma form, which has this really cool bow blade weapon thing. It's a gold form, and it is what I would consider, you have this is classic Kamen Rider, right? You get generally usually 4 different forms, and then there'll be like the first upgrade form. That's not always the case, but that is something we've seen before. And so we do have our first look at plasma. There's a modification happening to the driver. The suit is a bit more built out, but I again appreciate them being very reserved. They haven't added like a ton of crap onto it. They just have kind of enhanced the design and given it a bit of more flair, which I really like. I really appreciate, and I think they're again trying to find a way to like, well, how would you approach doing the toyetic, consistent upgrades whilst also trying to retain a more minimalist design that is akin to something that you would see in, old school Kamen Rider. So I really like this design for sure.
And this form, Inazuma Plasma, is very lightning based. And someone on Reddit pointed out that one of the things that happened to young Baku, one of the major items that happened to him because he helped people as the backlash, was he got struck by lightning.
Right.
So someone wonders if maybe one of the next upgrade forms will involve the meteor that apparently hit Baku at some point.
Right. And I mean that would be again, we're learning more. Dreams are about the person's subconscious, like all these traumatic events that have happened to him feeding into the different forms. And it is that thing of like, sometimes the capsums, he'll pop in a new capsum. We've got a couple of new ones recently, and I'm like, okay, interesting. I don't know why we're doing this. Like, is it really just like, have they figured out a creative way? Is there something tying into Baku's backstory? So maybe even more eagle-eyed viewers will be able to kind of link those things a bit more.
Yep. And we also got our it is not our second rider. It is Nox's whatever form. He is probably going to remain an antagonist for the foreseeable future. It is Nox Knight, which is sort of a silver and orange Zeztz looking guy, but it is not a Kamen Rider, and it uses the Zeztz driver, but it replaces the faceplate to turn it into what they're calling the Night Invoker. So,
which is also what Zeztz has seem. Oh no, is this the? Never mind. I'm
Inazuma still uses the original. Yeah, Inazuma still uses the original Zeztz driver.
It's just Night Invoker kind of on top of it.
Yeah, and Night Invoker fits on top of it to make it look different, and it's supposed to be a different thing. We will see if, like Kamen Rider Gotchard had its second rider. It was Kamen Warrior Valvarad, and then he became a rider later.
Yeah,
but his first form was not technically a rider, and Nox is in that
category
of
on the 7. Because I gotta say, I mean, it looks like another rider, right? But man, oh man, I love this Nox design. Like, if I liked the Plasma Zeztz, I love this design for Nox. It looks fucking sick. It looks scary. Like, I think that it really invokes, like, if Zeztz is the dream and Nox is the nightmare, this much more invokes like a more fearsome look for the character. Also, he's got a sword weapon that also looks like it can morph into various different things. And so this is exciting. We're on the precipice of getting Nox doing some stuff more than just kind of cryptically
sitting in the background,
and just being like, actually, I'm the hero of the story, which every good villain, right, is worth their salt, believes them to be the hero, and clearly they're under the impression that they're doing the right thing, and that actually Baku and the organization is really the the bad guy of all of this. So yeah, I mean, this is classic Kamen Rider of it's not always black and white, and we'll get crossover. I'm sure him and Nox will team up in the future. That is a traditional thing, but the path that we're carving through the storyline is exciting. Eric, are you seeing these images that we're talking about?
I was trying to find them actually. What should I Google again? Kamen Rider.
Kamen Rider Plasma. Yeah, in fact, if you go to Kamen Rider Reddit's page, the Kamen Rider Reddit page, first official image of New Warrior in Zeztz. And this happens, right, because of the toy catalog. We always see the characters before we see them in action in real life. It always gets spoiled. Yeah,
I'm on my way. Hold on.
all
but
good.
keep on chatting. I will pipe in when I.
Yeah. So I mean, no, I think this season is I also love, again, the balance of the seriousness and the silly, right? Like Kamen Rider usually is leading into one or the other, and then we get these few Goldilocks seasons that happen where they very seamlessly blend the two, and we're continuing that. Those Nem episodes really leaned into some dark stuff, and also, like, again, the mechanics of what a nightmare is, what a nightmare can be as well, was very cool. And I appreciate the fact that there's always stuff when you start the episode where you're like, oh, this is the red herring, right? We're being led to believe one thing,
Right.
and then it turns, and then you're like, oh, this is probably what's actually happening, and then that turns out to not be true, and then there's some new information that comes out from there. So no, thoroughly enjoying this season. We're about to be 9 episodes in, almost 10 episodes, so we're almost a fifth of the way through. Enjoying quite a bit.
I'm now looking at the image of New Warrior in Zets, and gorgeous. Number one, just calling out to me, gorgeous color scheme. Red and silver.
Yes.
Red and silver is just my personal favorite color scheme. So this is whatever I can get this in an action figure or something like that. That would be
a figure art. If you
Yeah.
look actually under there, Eric, the top comment has the image that has Nox Knight, and also Zetz's new form with his
Yes.
bow blade weapon.
Black and gold is also a second favorite color scheme. This does look amazing. I haven't bought Kamen Rider toys in a while. Maybe that'll change with Zets. Who knows? If Magic the Gathering doesn't empty out my bank account, maybe. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see this in action. Pretty much not soon enough. We are approaching the time when a new rider does show up, right? Yeah. So
yeah, usually a new rider will show up again by around the first 10 or 12 episodes, and then who knows? Then jury's out on whether more riders show up. It's either 2 or it's 20. There's no in between.
I loved, obviously Ryuki is still one of my favorite Kamen Rider seasons, and obviously the gimmick in that one was the first time you see multiple riders beyond just the 1 or 2 or 3 you get per season. But I know other shows in the Kamen Rider franchise have exhausted that well. And again, if we're talking about a back to basics Kamen Rider, it'd be nice if they stick with 2, 3 at most.
I mean, I ultimately think based on vibes, I think ultimately it will be Baku, Nox, and Nem will be the 3 riders by the time the show is done. But that's just based off of, I mean, I think that you're right. If this being back to basics, this being very much in the vein of those original seasons, I do think we're only going to get a few. When this is not going to be, especially because we've had quite a number. Well, fill me in, Mike. What obviously we had Geets that had cheated, right? Like it was weird how their riders worked, but there was quite a lot there. Gav and Gotchard, they only had a few each.
Yes, so Gav and Gotchard are like 3 main. Is pretty much what they've settled into. Even Geets had a bunch of riders, but really only 4 main riders. So they try to keep it to around 2 to 3 like main characters who henshin into riders, and then sometimes you'll get midway through towards the end, you'll usually get one evil one. Luckily, Gav and Gotchard, like had actual monster villains as the end. Like for a while there, the last villain is a evil rider, and folks were like, can we just do a monster? And that's what we did for the last few. So yeah, like you'll occasionally get some extra ones. Even Revice was like 6.
That was the
I
one
wanna
with
s-
like the wolf and the what were they? It was like a 2. There was
Revice is T-Rex is the theme, so but that was the family one. So it was Iki and his demon Vice. Technically one rider, but they were 2 separate, like sort of an opposite of double. Then there was his brother and his sister, who both became riders. One of the villains, two of the villains switched sides, and eventually got Like there were a
see
number
what
of
I'm saying?
there were a number of additional riders. Like I want to say Revice ended up maybe with like 7 total, but for the most part, 3 appeared on a regular basis.
That was like 2021, right? Like that was the first season, like after that was like the third Reiwa season. So that was a couple. It was that, and then it was
Um,
Geets, then Gotcha, then Gav. Now we're at that makes sense to me.
yeah, and
I'm
Zero
aligned with.
One was also like, you know, 6 or 7, 7 or 8, something like
Oh,
that. Something like
we got that many that one. Okay, cool.
yeah, but again, a lot of those are like you got 3 main ones and then a bunch of other ones that appear once or twice, a couple of times, and then they die or whatnot.
Well, this ties in, I think, very neatly to our main topic because you shared with us, Mike, this chart that you found. This came out a day ago, or this was posted a day ago on Reddit. And this is by Meza Zero that they put together. They actually updated the chart in light of the news that we're about to discuss. It doesn't contain the most up-to-date information since Gav, has just finished, and Gozuja is in obviously like kind of halfway through, a little over halfway through where its season is, but it just is showing toy sales, right? You talk about how toyetic these shows are. The main way they can exist and do production is by selling toys, and this is showing that basically since this is turn of the century, right? This is Kuga was the first Kamen Rider season back after a quite a long hiatus in the 90s. Was the first season back in the Heisei era with Time Ranger, and for many years through until as you mentioned, Decade, which was the 10th Heisei season era. It was the 10th season after bringing it back. And the shows are kind of neck and neck. Some years the Rider seasons are performing better, like Deno performing over Geki Ranger, which makes total sense because I think Deno like was a big deal for Kamen Rider. I remember
It
that,
was.
and it kind of, I think, set the stage for what to expect from Kamen Rider for a bit. Like it kind of defined an era, especially with like forms and everything, right? Like the consistency of having, the main rider form, and then they have like, you have 4 basic different forms, and then you get an upgrade. Like it kind of set that kind of in motion there. But for Mhm.
Sorry, I was also going to add just the show, the Imagine, the creatures were huge like mascots for that show, and they were very popular. And of course, there was merch based on them as well. So unsurprising that Deno was such a big deal, even just in terms of toy sales.
But then you look, and then it says Decade and Shinkenja neck and neck, and then boom, with Double just skyrocketing, like doing unprecedented sales at that point. I guess looking at this chart. And then it just kind of keeps going up from there. You have O's after that, and this is something I think that I always found interesting. So Decade was 1, then you had Double, which was 2, then O's was 3, and it had 3 different, like it had the 3 O's.
Mhm.
It's OOO, and it's pronounced O's, which was always tough to remember. But it had 3 different sections. Then you had 4s, and he had basically each appendage, his 2 arms and his 2 legs. Then you had Wizard after that with 5 for the 5 fingers because it was ring themed. And then they gave up. And then they were like, all right, now we're done with the numbering.
And then it's like, guys, guess what? Fruit Samurai.
Yeah. A lot of people think that it actually ended with 4s, and Wizard is just sort of us trying to fit it in there. But definitely from double through 4s, like they were going, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Wizard, yeah.
I think Wizard, I think rings 5 fingers. Like I think it works. But then with Gaim, you're like, all right, how many wedges are there in an orange? Is it 6? But anyway, so it's kind of up and down from there. It hits a kind of peak with 4s. It dips a bit. It dips way down when they do Drive, and that was 2014 or 2015. I remember that season because it was like, all right, it's a car now. They ghost rided it. They were like, oh, you thought he drove a motorcycle? Now he has a car.
And then it goes on the up and up after that.
Yeah, and then like launching into Geo, which was the final Heisei season, and that was the real peak of the toy sales. And now it's dipped again, but it seems to kind of have been on a steady track ever since. Like the Reiwa seasons are not at that height, but they're seemingly tracking. And I mean, I've got to imagine when they come out with the new chart next year or whenever, and we do see like Zeztz, I do think we will see a huge spike there with that. But needless to say, wherever the Kamen Rider sales are at, holy smokes, are they creaming Super Sentai, which is just like flattened out at like, I mean, we're talking about like 5 billion yen, which, what is it? It's like, is it like 10,000 to 1 roughly?
I'm not going to
What is the
pretend to know
exchange
the
rate?
conversion.
Hang on.
Yeah. I'm not going to pretend to know about the exchange rate, but that fascinates me because Super Sentai, by comparison, in theory, is such a bigger toyetic franchise. Like, because you've got the 3 to 5 characters plus the extra ranger, Zords and mechs and weapons and gadgets and morphers and yada yada yada. It astonishes me that Kamen Rider really does cream Super Sentai so severely. Like that. It's really what it is for me is the gap. It is the discrepancy. That's the word I'm looking for. How big it is. And yeah.
So there was a theory, and I tend to agree with the theory, is that while Sentai has more more characters and it does have the robots, the play pattern on Rider is more enjoyable. So like the changer for Sentai is usually pretty straightforward. It's just whatever the item is, each ranger puts in their item into the changer, and that's it. And then you get the toys, and the toys for a while weren't really all that interesting to play with. Like the Zords, as you put them together, just sort of stand there, like they are not very articulated. Whereas for Rider, you get a belt and you get a bunch of different gimmick items that can go into that belt, and then all of the attachments go on top of that belt, and it's all sort of looping around. Like there's more to do with the Rider toys in comparison with the Super Sentai toys. And sometimes that changes here and there. Like the last heights, peaks of Super Sentai in terms of sales on here were Gokaiger with the Ranger keys, and Kyoryuger with the little bullets or whatever. I forget what the toys were called, but you click them and they had a bunch of different dinosaurs. But the overall play patterns,
Gems in Dino Charge.
yeah, the overall play pattern for Super Sentai is relatively boring compared to what you get with Kamen Rider.
And I think, you know, because for me, my kind of gut tells me like, oh, but like you have like I think the first thing I think about is like also Kamen Rider. I think it's cleaner in terms of like, well, if you're buying a toy for yourself, you're the rider, right? There's one main rider, and then there's additional riders. But Super Sentai, it's a team. So the kind of whole theme is like there's 5 of you. So it's, you know, it's like me and some friends are going to get together, and we're going to buy the toys. And obviously, you know, you're just buying, you know, the toys for you or your kid. But there's an element of Kamen Rider where it's like I can have everything I need to emulate the show with just me and just these toys. Whereas obviously with Super Sentai, that there's more of a no, it's a group, right? And like maybe there's a association there. But then I think about like, oh, the Megazords, the you know, or you know, the mecha, right? Like, oh, but there's this inherent like Transformers-esque element to Super Sentai that is completely lacking in Kamen Rider, right? The Kamen Rider doesn't really have that element to it. It's definitely not on that literal scale, I guess, as well. Of okay, you have the mecha and you can sell the mecha, and that's always been where the toyetic nature of Super Sentai has come into play. All of the different forms and stuff we get with Kamen Rider, that's usually reflected in Super Sentai with a consistent release of new mecha coming in. But then I think, and I'm like, oh, but there isn't any role-playing opportunity there. You're not the mecha. You can't be the mecha. You have to be the ranger, which is different.
And the upgraded mecha generally, again, like the articulation and the play of a lot of the Sentai Zords, to use a broad term across, you know, whatever, is not all that interesting.
Yeah.
Like they literally, you put them together and they just sort of stand there, and that only gets worse as you get further into the show, where they're just sort of, you have the standing thing and you're putting another thing on top of it.
The final forms for some of these fucking Megazords, and I know that that's not the term, but let's just all just be on the same page. It's a Megazord. The final form for these reminds me of the Tim Robinson sketch where he's like, I got too much fucking shit on me. Like, you can't move it at all. It's just standing there. And I'm just like, how the fuck is this thing meant to fight? There's like 20 different buildings attached to it. What are you doing?
Yeah. And I think that's, again, part of the problem. And they've sort of tried to fix it. So like we added the Battleizer. And then they sort of took that on. So Red would usually get an upgrade form. Now we're at Gojuger. We have like the additional retransformations, but also there are the wild forms, then the Tegazord. And I think that's probably, we'll get to the news, but I think that's probably where Sentai is going to go. Like maybe you have, you know, red, yellow, blue. And then you have, similar to Rider, like, oh, we get multiple forms for red, yellow, and blue. Like, I'm wild red, I'm awesome blue, you know, stuff like that, and then work your way up. So each one gets more to do rather than
one and
usually
done,
like
oh,
two.
Red
It's
Ranger,
usually
Blue
like
Ranger.
two. It's usually like two forms now. Like there's usually the regular full team, and then there's the upgraded full team, and maybe Red gets an extra like little one more upgrade past that, but I think probably they'll do more. But the reason we're talking about this is the larger news, which
yeah.
What
So,
happens? Yeah.
well, who actually knows what's happening? I have tried to disseminate it, but I am going to lean on my good friend James Whitbrook, who is the deputy editor over at IO9, which is a part of Gizmodo. And God bless James. James has been doing the work for years to make sure that Western audiences are informed about what is happening in the world of Tokusatsu. And they ended up putting together the cleanest distillation of trying to pass through this news. And the title of their article is Super Sentai as we know it may be coming to an end after 50 years. So I saw this news online recently, and there's been tons of confusion about it, and I can't wait to chat with you guys about it. But I'm just going to go through some of the highlights from James's story here. Please go check out the full story. Give James the click. But as it goes, it says Japanese newspaper, the Sankai Shimbun, and the Kyoto News Agency are reporting that Super Sentai, the long-running Tokusatsu franchise that paved the way for the 90s Power Rangers boom in the West, may come to an end after 50 years. Both reports via the Anime News Network suggest that series owner Toei will end the series with the climax of the currently airing #1 Sentai Gozuja, which began broadcast earlier this year, citing budgetary concerns, with profits from Super Sentai merchandise, as well as events such as movies and live show tours, failing to match the series' production costs, which is why we were talking about the merchandise sales just now. Gozuja is the 49th series since it's weird because it's the 50th anniversary, right? 2025 is the 50th anniversary, but it's the 49th season. And that is because they skipped a year. So it explains here, Gozuja is the 49th series since the franchise began in 75 with Go Ranger. They skipped in 78 for that Spider-Man Toei series. I didn't know that show replaced Super Sentai for a year. I thought it had been going strong for 50 years, but they were like, we've got this deal with Marvel. It always comes back to this fucking Marvel deal.
Yeah, so the first two, Go Ranger and Jack Q Dengeki Tai, were technically Sentai. Like they are technically the Sentai series. Then we take the break, then they come back, and that from then on it's Super Sentai. Like it is a different branding,
Holy
but
shit.
they count the first two.
Right. Is this where the Power Rangers like fucking did this shit and they were like Super Samurai? Was that actually an homage?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think they thought that far, but yeah. So that was the whole that was the whole point. So Super Sentai, like, you know, if you watch any of the series, the openings have, like, in the very beginning, it'll be like Super Sentai series, like it'll have a whole thing. The first two were technically Sentai.
Gotcha.
And that's important for, probably, again, we'll get to as you go through the story, what a lot of people think is going to happen here.
Just to quickly add to it, I remember it was in the 90s when they officially recognized Go Ranger and Jack Q as Super Sentai, because for a while they were calling Battle Fever J the first Super Sentai. Yeah, it wasn't until much later that they decided.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think it was around O Ranger when they made that declaration, something like that. It was somewhere in the 90s. That's all I remember.
Wow. You're still learning things about this fucking franchise, man. Also, what this article is alluding to is that even though Gozuja is the 49th season, people are considering the 50th team because the 2018 season was meant to be cops versus robbers, right? And it was Kaito Sentai Lupin Ranger, which were the thieves, versus Kaisatsu Sentai Pot Ranger, which was the cops. And so you had two teams that season, and it would go back and forth, but it was about both of them, which was a really cool. I remember geeking out about. I was like, oh, what a cool fucking idea. So this is like the 50th team. It's the 49th season, but it's also the 50th year of the franchise. It's very, very bizarre how the numbering works. And they also were like, oh, it'll be the 50th because we count down from 50, right? And then now they're number one, which is what the season, it's like number one Sentai Gozuja is the translated name. It's all weird and wacky in the way that these things are around these franchises. But we have a continuation basically saying that like Toei and TV Asahi, which is the network that airs Super Sentai, Toei being the production company, TV Asahi being the the publisher, essentially the broadcaster. They've said shit. They've said absolutely nothing. There's been no official anything from these motherfuckers. And I need them to say something because I need you to clear up what is going on. Because some people are convinced that it's still going to continue. Rumors, continuing James' words here, rumors have circulated recently of a potential soft reboot and rebrand of the franchise, paving the way for a Super Sentai-esque series to take its place. Although it's not happened yet this year, it's usually around November when the next Super Sentai title emerges through trademark filings. This is a consistent thing where usually every year around this time is when we learn what the next thing is going to be, because again, they have to file trademarks, they have to start like manufacturing toys, they have to do all of these things. And so this time of year is usually when we start learning about it. Earlier this year, speaking to Daily Sports Online series producer Shinichiro Shirakura suggested that a new series was in development. Quote, I think Gozuja is a program that retells the history of Super Sentai, including redefining the warriors of the past. That's why the 51st series, which would be the 50th, but whatever, that's why the 51st series can't just be an extension of that. I believe the program itself has to move on to the next stage, and we're currently in the midst of building it. So I don't think it's dead, no matter how much I tried to bait people at the beginning.
Yeah.
But things are going to be different from now on. There's a lot of rumors that maybe, and I think some of these got taken down because when I tried to find them, I couldn't see them. But there was a post yesterday that like the next thing could be very Metal Hero inspired, which might solve a lot of the things we were just talking about with the toys. That would make a lot of sense to me. But yeah. It clearly seems that no matter what the next thing is, it isn't going. Super Sentai, as we know it, is done.
Yeah,
which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, and I think about part of that is again like in the same way that Zeztz is sort of a rethinking of Kamen Rider for a more global audience. Whatever is going to follow Super Sentai is going to rethink what Super Sentai, what that format is. One within it, like, hey, can we pull some of the play patterns from Kamen Rider down into what this Super Sentai series is, while still making it distinct, but also a way to sort of figure out how to expand that to a larger worldwide audience. And the wonder and scuttle is that Hasbro retains Power Rangers, and potentially, again, this is one of those things no one really knows, that part of the Power Rangers contract is they have rights to every Super Sentai series, regardless of what they actually do with it. For US distribution in Europe, because the shows still air in Korea. They're usually dubbed over as Power Rangers, but but Hasbro holds it on the Western side. And perhaps if you say, well, Super Sentai is done, we're moving to Hyper Sentai, we're moving to something else, then Toei will be able to directly take that or do what they've done with Zeztz and license that out to another distributor and just literally bring over to a more worldwide audience without Hasbro.
To add to that, I would give anything to be in the boardroom meetings and the creative meetings right now, because you have to know that they are talking about Power Rangers. They're talking about how to get around it. Again, we're just finishing up Halloween, and I've been looking. You see on your social media feeds different people dressing up as Power Rangers and things like that. And I think there was like a professional basketball team that had the mascot dress up as the Red Ranger, and then was surrounded by like the other Power Rangers. And it's like 30 years later, they're still using the iconography of Jew Ranger to denote this
Mhm.
particular franchise. And Toei has to be slightly annoyed about that, because no matter what they do to try to market Super Sentai to a broader audience, people are going to go, "Oh, that's Power Rangers." And I think there's an advantage there. There's built in some sort of currency and an understanding of what this is, but at the same time, people are still thinking about Mighty Morphin. They're still thinking about the same five teenagers from Angel Grove, the same five dinosaurs, rather than thinking about this broadly as a genre, as something that's been going on for 50 years now. The people's minds is still goes to obviously Mighty Morphin, and you cannot blame anyone. Mighty Morphin was so huge that it left a real cultural footprint, and we should all be grateful, because I think for a lot of us, we wouldn't be here talking about Tokusatsu without that footprint. But I think if you're trying to evolve a franchise and you're trying to market something outside of your own shores to a wider audience, boy, how are you trying to reinvent yourself when you're trying to build on a cultural currency while trying not to get dismissed as just another version of that?
Yeah, and you have Hasbro, and Hasbro is, obviously there's apparently a new TV series and perhaps a film reboot. And the assumption generally, I'd say from all of us, is they're just going to try to do Mighty Morphin again in some form, even if it's not, the original Angel Grove kids, Zach Trini, all that. They'll just, like all of the previous, just keep doing Mighty Morphin, just the same iconography, dinosaurs. Whereas I think whatever this is afterwards, they have a chance to, and I really want like Hasbro, like, hey, you're doing a new series. The rumor on the Hasbro side is that their next Power Rangers won't use any footage at all, maybe animated, maybe something else. We don't know. But you have this space to do so much more.
Mhm.
It's like Star Trek going back to Kirk and Spock over and over again. You don't have to. You have achieved cultural osmosis. We know exactly what this is. You can do anything.
You can do
So
it.
just do it.
Which is like the message of these shows, right? Like you can, yeah.
Twitter is obviously a weird and bad place, but I've seen some like open speculation from people being like, "What if Toei brands it Power Rangers?" Like what if, and which is like, I don't know how, that's pretty much impossible because of Hasbro, but it gets me going, and it now fires up my what ifs of my brain, going like, what if there's a reality where Super Sentai, or Toei rather, where Toei positions itself at a point to buy the Power Rangers IP. And this is conjecture. This is conjecture. I cannot. I'm saying this with incomplete information, and it's all here. He said, she said. Sorry, hearsay rather. Um, I've heard that Hasbro is not entirely happy with keeping Power Rangers. I have heard that the person who wanted Power Rangers was the CEO who passed, and he bought Power Rangers in spite of what everyone else at Hasbro wanted. Again, conjecture. This is what I've heard, and that Hasbro, when they're ready to, they will give up Power Rangers to whoever. I mean, look, they already gave up the toy rights.
Yeah, they gave up the toy rights, and like for toy, I'm sure you're frustrated in that, like, the last show officially was Cosmic Fury, which was an adaptation of Q Ranger, which was like 2017,
Yeah.
28. It's far enough back that you're looking at what you have and you're like, nothing's happening with this on the Western side.
Mhm.
Like we need a way around this so that we can expand. Because if your brand partner in the US is just not doing anything, uh,
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably frustrated. Like, hey, some of this stuff probably could have hit a little bit bigger in the Western side if anything happened with it.
In 5 years from now, if that Disney reboot, whatever it is, and we're calling it the Disney reboot just by virtue of the fact that it's supposed to be streaming on Disney Plus, and Disney is not actually having a proper ownership hand in the franchise again. If the Disney reboot crashes and burns, I mean,
Which
who
I
knows?
think, honestly, the recent Doctor Who debacle with Disney, I think clearly should have you worried,
Yes,
because that show is just Power Rangers.
yes,
Like, they are intrinsically linked. There's so many similar vibes. For people that don't know and are not in the know, Disney basically invested in producing Doctor Who. They got 2 seasons with Ncuti Gatwa. They've got a spin-off. They were trying to maybe make more of Doctor Who than I think anyone really was wanting from that show. Needless to say, it seems to have all fallen apart. Disney no longer partnering. BBC is committing to making more Doctor Who, but I think they're trying to figure out what that looks like now without the Disney side of things. And I think we'll probably run into the exact same thing happening with Hasbro and Disney
So
over this
5 years
new
from now,
season.
2030-ish or so, do we see Toei getting more involved with Power Rangers just to be like, we can't grow without this thing in the way. We need to take control of this thing and just continue Super Sentai, or sorry, Ultra Sentai, whatever the Sentai we call.
Yeah, maybe. Again, I tend to agree with the Scuttle that whatever this is, whatever it is becoming, it is so that they have the ability to say, hey, we're doing something else that we can bring to the world ourselves without relying on a partner that we're locked in with in the same way we are with Hasbro and Power Rangers. Like, we have more options to say, hey, why don't we go to Shout? Why don't we go to Netflix directly and just say, here's the product we're making. Would you like to stream it or whatever?
And in theory, again, the last thing I'll say is, who would want to buy Power Rangers? Like, what entity out there would want this IP that has, as successful as it has been here and there? Who would want it? If Hasbro doesn't want it, and if Hasbro can't make it work alongside Transformers and GI Joe and et cetera, who else is out there? Saban has already bought it once and sold it again. Like, Disney has already owned it. Like, is there an entity that we could foresee willing to take a chance with this franchise again? The only one for me, for my money, is Toei. Toei is just seems like the only logical one if they have the money for it.
Yeah, I mean, so I was the one that, like, originally, like, thought when this news was dropping, in my head I was like, well, what the fuck do you rebrand? Why? Firstly, and I starting to see people talk about, again, very much conjecture, that the reason that this is all happening is to get out from, quote unquote, under the boot of Hasbro, and have a franchise that they can wholly own, because, again, might be tough to create a streaming setup like they have with Kamen Rider, with Super Sentai, considering the fact that Power Rangers exists. So I thought, yeah, what if it is Power Rangers? Because, again, we have the Korean adaptation, which is a dub. Some seasons are dubs. Some seasons are actual spin-offs and exist within the same universe. And they use the Power Rangers branding there, as you mentioned, Mike. So I was like, okay, you just have American Power Rangers, you have Japanese Power Rangers, you have Korean Power Rangers. They're all a part of, like, you play into this whole international identity kind of thing of, like, every country could have their own team, and maybe that's a mutually beneficial way to do this, right? You could have, uh, you know, um, maybe Super Sentai could get a little bit of a boost because of the brand recognition with Power Rangers, and in turn, Hasbro has actual investment in the Power Rangers IP that isn't even coming from them, right? And maybe there's a mutual beneficial thing there. I don't think that is how it's going to go down. I do think that like Toei very smartly is probably thinking we don't need Hasbro to like make this big. We can reconfigure and we can completely own it, and you know getting selling Japanese shit in America is super easy. Everyone in America is a weeb of some degree. I'm
Yeah,
convinced.
and that's
And that was just not
that's
the
the
case in
thing.
the 90s.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're also like on one hand, they're looking at Hasbro going, "Why aren't you doing anything with
Yeah.
what we're making annually?" It's hurting probably like the potential sales that we could probably do on toys.
Hmm.
But at the same time, they're also probably looking at like Demon Slayer. They're looking at
Hmm.
Chainsaw Man. They're looking at Attack on Titan. They're looking at Squid Game. Like not just Japanese like anime breaking through, but Asian like live action culture is breaking through. Um, Even like the official Ultraman channel on YouTube has 3 million followers.
Hmm.
Like, and that's just something they can't currently tap into.
Hmm.
And so I think they're looking at this wave and they're like, maybe there's more we can do. Maybe there's something else. Again, that's all speculation because we don't actually know because they haven't said anything
Yeah.
outside of that they are working on something else.
Just want to point out too as well. Again, if you want to talk about Japanese media popping off here in the States, I had to go on Box Office Mojo just now because uh, September 12th to September 18, and from September 12th to September 25, Demon Slayer was the number one movie at the U.S. theatrical box office. This past weekend, October 24 to October 30, Chainsaw Man was the number
Yeah.
one movie at the box office. And these are not the first Japanese anime to be popular,
Nope.
to have been successful at the US box office. It is telling where we are culturally and what is happening in the ether, that these movies are outperforming even actual American made theatrical Hollywood movies. Like that is you anyone who's in this space right now has to be taking notes and looking at this very carefully. That's not to say that like that's so easily translatable. Both movies I mentioned are based off of very popular existing anime franchises, so they have that specific. People went to it for Demon Slayer. They didn't go to it because it was just anime. They went to it for Demon Slayer or Chainsaw Man, or rather. But it gives them there is this hope of some kind that like Toei can be the masters of their own destiny and create and own this space and be successful at it. It's just a matter of how they're going to do it. Especially again, we keep on going back to it. How with Power Rangers in the way, I don't know. I don't know what this is all going to look like.
It's. I mean, it's. It's one of these things where I'm like, again, I think ultimately it plays into exactly what this show to bring it back to why we are doing this show is because clearly there is a seismic shift happening, and I just didn't expect it to be the end of Super Sentai from Super Sentai is dead, long live Super Sentai. But that does seem what we are getting. There is, as you mentioned, there is a cultural reckoning. There's a reckoning happening on multiple fronts, but culture is in the West is changing, and there is more of a global culture and access to all of these different things. I mean, again, you just have to look at Demon Hunters and Halloween, man. The amount of Demon Hunter, right? Demon Hunter. The
K-pop
amount
Demon
of
Hunters. Yep.
K-pop Demon Hunter. The amount of Demon Hunter cosplay. My niece, who's aunt and uncle, sorry, whose parents I'm the uncle. Their parents who know nothing about any of this, she was Rummy or Rumi or that whatever that character's name is from
Rumi,
that
yep.
movie. Like, we're going to have more of that. And as you pointed out, the Demon Slayer movie, the Chainsaw Man movie, there is going to be more than of that. No matter how much the federal government wants to make this an incredibly white, incredibly homogenous nation, there's no stopping the fact that we have built an infrastructure that literally allows you to access any of this stuff at any time, and people are going to want to find these fresh new things. And maybe Toei is simply just like, it's been 50 years, let's close, separate from these things don't happen without there being the money incentive and
Mhm.
and obviously like the Hasbro connection. But I don't know, like, outside of that, just the simple idea of like, we did 50 seasons. We did 50 teams. Okay, we can officially say we did 50 teams. What are we going to do? Are we going to do just 51 through 100 and just keep going until the world ends? Or do we find a fresh new way? Maybe we bring some of the vibes and synergies from some forgotten franchises of ours, like Metal Hero, which all the rumors that I'm seeing are like, Metal Hero, Metal Hero. Like, maybe that'll come back. Like, maybe there's something we can do that also has the advantageous ties of getting away from Hasbro, giving us more control over the IP. But I think just from a creative standpoint, they might just be like, what if we just fucking started from scratch?
Can I pose a question to you guys?
Please do.
What would you each individually want to happen? What do you want to happen? Doesn't matter what, logic be damned, a reason be damned. What would you personally want to happen with this franchise?
Please go, Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, so I am also a Doctor Who fan and watcher, and I think some people's derision over Disney's creative control, I think it was Disney was more of the budget. I don't think Disney cared what the show did. But I think, one, you need to keep the show as what it is. And I think like the Disney Plus funded seasons of Doctor Who tried to aim higher. And I don't think that's what the show needed. It just needed to be, it's cheaper, perhaps more episodes in the season, hokier style. That's what people come for Doctor Who. And I think like what Hasbro will do with Power Rangers is more in that Disney style and how we make things here in the West. Bigger, more polished,
Yeah.
shinier. And I want whatever follows Super Sentai to remain that, like, we're riffing. This is the production. We have a limited budget. We have actors we pay in ramen. The entire crew is nonstop
Ultraman
running.
themed ramen.
Yeah, the entire crew is nonstop running, and we are riffing. If that takes on more Metal Heroes, like I said, I think my thought is they will probably, and the reason people say Metal Heroes is I think a lot of the Metal Heroes later show, sort of the special rescue section of Metal Heroes, did this, and that's the stuff that became like VR Troopers, Beetleborg, stuff like that. You get down to like maybe three and maybe two specials, so sort of in the Hurricaneger range, where you get your three primaries. They get different forms that are still color specific. So you get your red, yellow, blue. They get multiple forms, much like Kamen Rider. So the play pattern is more interesting, so that things are more happening to the Rangers each episode, not just plot reasons. Like a lot of the Super Sentai tend to be Um, very straightforward, very much the same per episode. And it's like, here's the Red Ranger episode, here's the Blue episode, here's the, Yellow Ranger episode, green, and then you loop back around once again, that kind of thing. I think they'll try to do more from a toy and a show perspective to get it closer to Kamen Rider. So, like, all right, so we're weaving stories in and out. There's an overarching story. Very similar is what's happening. I think I haven't read any of the comics on our side in the Massive Verse, in that there are
Mm.
like Radiant Black is the main one.
Radiant,
Yes.
yeah. So for people that are unfamiliar, the Massiverse is Kyle Higgins' creation. Kyle Higgins was the writer that was brought on to do Boom Studios' Power Rangers comics a decade ago, which makes me want to fucking jump off a cliff. But that was about a decade ago now. He was brought on. Boom saw huge success there, and then Kyle basically was like, I want to do my own Power Rangers, and went to Image and did Radiant Black, which is I think it falls in a kind of valley that is between a Power Rangers and like a more traditional American superhero. I think it's almost meant to be a blend of the two, but that was incredibly successful for Image, and now they have spin-offs and new characters and all of this stuff, and that's what the Massiverse is that Mike is alluding to.
Yeah, so Radiant Black is about the main character who is Radiant Black, but there is a Sentai team
Hmm.
around him of other Radiants, as I've seen on covers, but the story is about Radiant Black, and then the other stories are weaved through. And that's sort of, again, how Kamen Rider operates in
Hmm.
stories. Like, it is about the one main person, but other stories weave through and in that story. And I think Sentai will probably move in that direction creatively, in addition to the play patterns, as in, all right, this is the Red Ranger story, but also the blues story will weave in between here. Ah, Yellow's story is now part of this, and sort of take on that sort of storytelling style,
Mm.
as opposed to, again, a lot of Sentai. They've tried to switch it up. Dawn Brothers was very different, but generally it is like, all right, we're starting off. Here's the team. Here's the Reds episode. Blues episode will deal with his plot. Yellow's episode. Uh, Once you've done an episode for each of the team members, you introduce the six Rangers. Then you loop back around and you do an episode for each of them. But it's all very standard and straightforward, and it's usually done in one. It's like, oh, okay, cool. We've done that episode. It's done.
Yeah.
And I think the storytelling can be more than that.
Tom, what would you like to see?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mike is an infinitely smarter person than I will ever be. And so I don't like, what can I say following up that? I mean, that is, I think, the only option that they have. I think that they, yeah, there needs to be, I think, a narrative cohesiveness that is just hard to tell when you try and have five equal leads. And I think that the most successful seasons of Super Sentai are the ones where they kind of focus more on it ultimately ends up being the Red Ranger. I will guarantee you that no matter what, the fucking main hero will be the color red. There is no way they are changing that. That is the one thing I can guarantee that it's going to continue to happen. Red will still be, numero uno. Otherwise, I mean, I would love to see them blow it up, but I do think that we should look to what they've done with Zeztz, which is a combination of an homage to what has come before, also its own new thing, setting new kind of tastes, but it seems to be just a really good blend of those things, and it's focused, it's streamlined. We're not getting, we're not getting there's too much shit on me Megazord happening in this show. I want to see like a not only narrative focus but a visual design focus. I want a focus on the real. Even think, they've experimented, King Oja, which happened in 2023, they experimented with the volume. I think that show is incredible for everything other than the volume, which I fucking hated how that show looked. I want to come back to like a tangible, very focused on the choreography of the fights and things like that. That to me is the best thing about these shows. So I just would like to see an incredible focus. And if you can do that, and you have the ability to then also bring it to Western audiences, I think it is a recipe for success, especially if Disney and Hasbro shit the bed on Power Rangers, and then there are no viable options other than Ultra Sentai. Universe version of Sentai is also a rumored name I'm seeing being tossed around. Focus would be like the key word. If I was going to be in the boardroom, I'd write Foku, and then I'd write S at the end and put $sign, turn it into a $sign.
You do the James Cameron alien thing.
Yeah, that's how I do it. Just have it be very focused, and that comes from narrative, design, choreography, all of these things.
Okay.
Eric, what about you, man? What are you feeling?
I did say at the top, logic and reason be damned, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But is there a but there?
So here's what I'm thinking, and I'll admit I'm taking inspiration from a really bad and very expensive Amazon show that no one is watching. Context. On Amazon, the Russo brothers have produced a show called Citadel.
Right.
It's a spy show, and the idea was they get one season at the door, and they create foreign spin-offs, like set in the same universe. They share the canon, but they follow like the spies in India, spies in Japan, spies in yada yada. Here's what I'd like to see happen, and again, we need to wipe away logic and reason and forget that Disney's making a reboot using the Power Rangers brand right now. Toei gets control of the Power Rangers IP. They produce a show. They get rid of the annual refresh. They adopt a more serialized format, maybe 2 or 3 years per iteration. They create. They produce the main show in Japan. They have an English American spinoff. Maybe they partner with an entity, Hulu, Netflix, whatever.
Disney,
yeah. It's these shows inhabit the same universe. You can watch the Japanese team do their thing. You can watch the American team do their thing. Maybe if the stars align, they do one crossover special, maybe animated. So that's why that way you can get around the multilingual production difficulties. But you move forward with a franchise that is singular, united. It is Power Sentai, whatever you want to call it, whatever this new name is, it is Power Sentai, and this is the property that is shipped around the world. Oh, I'm a fan of the Japanese. This season, I really like the Japanese cast in the Japanese show, but the American show is doing some pretty good things too. You can have the consumers can watch the version that's more palatable to them. They can watch the Japanese version that they're used to, or they can watch the American version that's readily available on Netflix and has maybe a couple cast members that they recognize from other shows. That's to me kind of a way forward, being a lot more inclusive and a lot more multinational. Not in this way, you kind of acknowledge that Power Rangers has been its own thing for many, many years and has its own language and has its own identity in the West, but it has the stronger ties to its origins in Japan. And if you're a dedicated fan, you can keep up with both concurrently. And by the way, if we really want to split hairs, I think both shows can be dramatically shorter in length. We're talking 12 to 20 episodes per production. So the Japanese show can run maybe 20 episodes. The American production can maybe run 8, 15 episodes, whatever is appropriate, whatever they have in the budget. And maybe at the end of the year, you see some sort of cool, maybe a quick short film where they cross over, or maybe there's a YouTube animated film where the cast, the characters mingle and have to band together to save a common enemy, or fight a common enemy rather. Just something a lot more coherent that marries the fact that like Power Rangers has its own history that you can't wrap around, and that people around the world who don't know what Super Sentai is, which is most people, they can just call it Power Rangers. Oh yeah, there's the but then they get wind of this Japanese thing that's maybe also airing on Crunchyroll, or maybe is being broadcast on YouTube or something like that, or is on Tubi or something like that. I know that's a little fragmented, but I guess the idea is that you can watch what you want to watch,
Right.
and just by virtue of being in the space, you can find your way towards the same thing, or best of both worlds. Whatever Let's again, I'm assuming Toei is the singular owner. They strike a deal with a Netflix or whatever to have Power Sentai America, Power Sentai Japan, and you can watch it to your own whims. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see the Power Rangers franchise and Super Sentai kind of share a common owner, ideally Toei, because they know how to make it best. And just like that's how you get around all of this trouble. Toei can enjoy the fruits of people going Power Rangers, and Toei can finally go, instead of going, well yes, but, and they can actually go, yes, this is ours. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, it's some kind of like loop-de-loop business deal where now they have it almost feels like Succession. You know what I mean? Like that final season where it's like, who's gonna buy who's gonna be in charge, like, oh, maybe, yeah. So look, whatever it will be, it's things are never going to be the same, which is crazy because the only constant in my life, my entire life, has been this show. It is the only thing that has been running consistently every single year that I have been alive on this fucking planet. And I set my watch to this show happening every year. So the idea that might change is a little scary, even though I haven't necessarily engaged with it every year. I always looked forward to learning about what the new team is, seeing the new suits every year. Once it became a part of my life, I was always excited about that. And seemingly, it seems like we're going to continue to have that, but it will be very different.
It's always funny to be at like the Thanksgiving table and maybe just like mindlessly checking Twitter and then checking like the low-res scans, bootleg scans of whatever the next Sentai is.
Yeah,
it's
from
like,
the
that was
magazines.
always a fun thing to do. It's like, Christmas dinner, you're kind of bored, everyone's doing their thing. You check Twitter, you check Instagram, and you're like, oh, that's the new Sentai in 2026. That was always fun for me personally.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll leave it there. I think that was a really great discussion. Let us know in the comments if you are. Obviously, this is only going to relate to longtime fans. This is great news for people who are just jumping on board, because now you have a clean slate, seemingly, to work with here, and you've got a new season. But if you are a longtime fan, let us know in the comments, what do you want to see from the franchise, whatever that may be going forward. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Eric, where can people find you on the internet if they want to come and yell at you about your vision for this multiverse Super Sentai?
Come yell at me on Twitter or Blue Sky at EricFrancisco24. You can DM me threats on Instagram at Efrangelion. Efren spelled like Evangelion, but with Efren instead.
Right. Mike, what about you?
You can find me on Blue Sky at mhwilliams.bsky.social. As I always say, eventually we'll translate that over to something proper, but I haven't done it yet. So
all good. My name's Tom Caswell. You can find me at Tom Caswell Games, wherever you want. We'd love to hear from you guys, and we will see you next time. Peace.